Arbor's 1071. Local music. Embrace it. Support it. Tree Town Sound on Ann Arbor's 1071.
Well, if you're a fan of this show, then you know that I'm like one of the biggest Tally Hall fans that has ever lived. And it's for all the right reasons, with creative songwriting, with passion, with obviously elite musical talent. And, you know, the live show, I mean, when they used to play two-night stands at the Blind Pig, I went to both those nights. When they would play in Toledo at, I can't remember, Howard's Club H, I would go to that. I saw as many shows as I could, and you've heard me on the show before talk about how out of all the years of Top of the Park, I've never once seen a crowd as large as the Tally Hall crowd. I've never walked away from an Ann Arbor show quite like I felt that day, like I was a part of something. I even saved the Ann Arbor News that day that I still have with them on the front cover with all those ties. And you know, I've had Ross Fetterman, their drummer, on this show. I mean, a lot of times. He's actually hosted this show one time, and he had Antoine Stanley on, who I've never had on. So like even Ross balled out and brought in an artist I couldn't get. But this is special for me because I have Joe Hawley live in studio, and he's just making some amazing music. And Joe, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Shalom, greetings, and good afternoon.
How long did you think it would go before you actually came in studio with me?
It didn't necessarily seem inevitable. I'm surprised I'm here at this moment, and it's a pleasure. Thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely. I try to keep my tabs on all the band, and I think it's great because, you know, Tally Hall's done. We don't need to talk about that. And, you know, I was absolutely so floored by Hawaii Part 2. The vision behind it, the different languages, the beats behind it, stuff backwards, songs that sounded like they were from the 20s, and all that creativity that just poured out of you and just how you pushed it. How did this whole Hawaii Part 2 thing come about?
Back in 1997, my family took a trip to Hawaii, and I had never been before. And while we were in Maui, a melody occurred to me, and I didn't forget it. And sometime in 2012, which was the Mayan year of the apocalypse, I started thinking that was the time to record it.
Well, that's cool. I was actually born on that day, December 21st. Was that the end of the Milan? That was the end, 12/21/12, right? The apocalypse day? Yeah. I don't know if that means anything. Somebody look it up and tell me I'm wrong. Which song was that? Which melody was that?
So there's a song in the musical, I guess, called Dreams Suite in C major. And, there's a repeating pattern that sort of
kind of like just
locked
clicked
into my brain while I was looking at the ocean in Maui.
And you said 1997, so that was way.
I remember thinking of like the Night, Beach Boys, something like that.
You were in probably high school then.
I would have been high school.
Yeah, high school, because you're just a baby. These baby Tally Hall boys. Tell me the barbershop rule, just because I think this is really cool. And when I reached out to Joe, I was like, I want you to come on. I'm going to play tons of Tally Hall. And he's like, well, we kind of have this rule, but it's your radio show, and if you want to play Tally Hall, you do whatever you want. I have to fall back on the barbershop rule, and I'd love for you to explain to my listeners what the barbershop rule is.
Okay, so technically Ross has been in violation of this rule, which was established back in 2007 or so. Sundays are off. The Tally Hall is closed on Sunday. It was becoming far too much work, perhaps just from my vantage point, but it seemed like something had to change. So Sundays were no longer.
They were a holy day.
Okay.
But with that said, radio stations could play them, just you guys couldn't be a part of it.
It wasn't intended as a hammer. It was supposedly something fun, you know. Oh, we're closed, you know.
Yeah.
But we had a bit of a miscommunication.
Well, Ross Fetterman's been in violation. I'm actually going to violate him now next time he comes down, and we'll just take that from there. I think the rule is cool, and as you know, I'm not going to play Tally Hall this whole show. I'm just going to say it every time. So if you're playing the Tally Hall drinking game at home, now's the time to start. All right, so I want to play a song, and I'm going to do back-to-back songs. White Ball. White Ball is pretty epic. Is that one of the first Hawaii Part 2 songs?
Hawaii Part 2 began with about 4 instrumentals, and White Ball was one of the 4, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I got.
There was a piano melody, and I wasn't sure who was going to sing it at the time. And we also didn't have a bridge, so I reached out to Zubin Seji, who was in Tally Hall, and helped write the bridge.
Oh, that's great. All right, so we're going to do White Ball, segued into Labyrinth. And they couldn't be more polar opposite. They fit together so perfect, and the music video of Labyrinth is absolutely breathtaking. We're going to talk about that too. But right before that, this is White Ball off of Hawaii Part 2, written by Mr. Joe Hawley. That is Labyrinth by Hawaii Part 2, written by Mr. Joe Hawley. But not Mr. Joe Hawley alone. He had a few people contributing on that. Who else was a part of the Hawaii Part 2 project, Joe?
Well, the production team was Ross Fetterman, the drummer, Tally Hall, Bora, and me. And we interacted via the internet throughout the year of 2012. And finally, I went to California and recorded it with Bora.
Did Ross go to California too?
Ross remained in Connecticut at the
Got
time.
it.
Yeah, so he sent drum tracks.
It's amazing how that works.
Yeah, some of the drums were recorded here, I think, in Ann Arbor.
Oh, yeah, when he was going to Michigan right around that time. I'm a big fan of Labyrinth. That's also Charlene Kay and Shane Moe, who, Shane Moe was in Bellicose, and now he was in Duck Duck Goose or whatever, that Brooklyn band, and now he's on to different things. And Charlene Kay, who a lot of you know from collaborating with Darren Criss with her Dress and Tie song, and just touring all over the country with all of her different outfits. Outfits as in groups, not what she's actually wearing. The music video for Labyrinth is like an old, was it 8-bit video game? Is that fair to say?
We were aiming for 8-bit.
8-bit, yeah, you nailed it. And it's, the creativity that goes behind these videos for your music is, it's pretty breathtaking. Like the visuals that are you finding someone who makes this, who heard the song and you're like, I need this octopus and this whale and it needs to fly in outer space. Like, is this a Joe Hawley dream that you tell someone and then they animate it?
For the Island to Thyself music video, my friend Sean, who directed a Tally Hall video way back in the day, shame on me for mentioning it on Sunday, but
that's the one with the boat sinking, right?
He had a lot of freedom in making that video. I basically trusted him as an artist, and he and his friend Teddy O'Connor, who are very talented in my opinion, for what it's worth, put that together last year.
It's incredible. And that's Isle as Carter. It's Isle, I-S-L-E. Remember we talked about that earlier. Unto Thyself. It's an absolutely monster of a music video. And I think it's fair to say, and Tally Hall back in the day got this too, and I think you've carried it on to your other musical projects. You know the importance of visuals with your music and great videos and the production with it. I feel like it has to be perfect on every level for you to put it out, right?
It can be maddening at times.
Yeah, right? I heard artists say in the past an album's never finished, you just stop working on it. Can you relate with that?
Yes. Interesting. So Steve Loader at Disney worked on Ren and Stimpy for a while, and he relayed that exact quote to Bora and me. By the way, Bora's probably listening.
Nice. Shout out to Bora. We're gonna try to call him if he's, we've tried to call Andrew Horowitz and he wouldn't answer his phone, so maybe we'll try to call him. And I know Ross is listening too because he tweeted to me, but he's probably just pretending. He's too cool for school. Is there going to be a Hawaii Part 2, Part 2?
There is a Hawaii Part 2, Part 2.
Oh,
yes.
It's
available via a secret link on the website. There's sort of a donation code like in an Outburger.
It has like 40 tracks.
Secret menu.
It has like 40 tracks, right, with the outtakes and all that stuff? Like 28 tracks. It has a lot of tracks.
It may be overwhelming to some.
Yeah.
One would have to be very interested in the project.
It's incredible. If you pull it up on your computer screen, it has so many songs you have to scroll down. You can't just see them all. It's a monster, and that's really cool. So is there going to be a Hawaii Part 2, Part 3? Or is Hawaii Part 2, 1 and 2 kind of just you got it out of you, that's what it was, and if it makes a comeback, only time will tell?
Well, back in January 2012, when I was on Uncle Tom's Farm, I just threw up the Hawaii Party website, and it seemed like a party. Almost. It's HawaiiPartii.com.
And you've never gone out of your way to really promote it.
Just now, I guess.
Yeah, it's like I stumbled upon it because of Ross, because the friendship there, but I never, and it does well because, your fan base, you have a great fan base. I mean, if you're going to be the best looking person in Tally Hall, you're going to have a good fan base.
I was about to say we're in agreement that the fan base is great.
Yeah, it is great. And I'm getting tweets from them now, which is amazing. All right, I'm going to play Isle Unto Thyself, which is one of my favorites off the album. If you have not seen this music video, you really need to do your soul a favor. You need to go to YouTube. It's a very common website that shows videos. You need to put in Hawaii Part 2 and watch these videos. This is Isle Unto Thyself. Isle Unto Themself by Hawaii Part 2. If you're just tuning in, then I am dipping in to the mind of who I consider a true musical genius. That is Joe Hawley, originally of Tally Hall. Now he's of Joe Hawley, also Hawaii Part 2. And I really wish all of you could hear us talking in between these songs. He is just such an inspiring artist, and a true artist at that. Let me just put it that way. So humble, doesn't want to promote himself. Really, I don't really know how to even explain it, but I'm going to try to explain it in months and months to come as I play these albums and Tally Hall. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'm not done yet. I'm going to come back with Into the Snow, which is, I feel like every morning it should be your alarm in the wintertime. Just put it that way. If you woke up to this every morning, I guarantee you'd have a better life. Trust me.
Local music. Tree Town Sound on Ann Arbor's 1071.
Well, if you're just tuning in, we are dipping in to the mind of Joe Hawley. You may know him from the Red Tie from Tally Hall. You may also know him as an amazing University of Michigan graduate who put a ton into the community, helped establish the very strong Ann Arbor music scene that we have today. And that's no exaggeration. If you talk to the My Dear Disco Kids, to Jeremy Kittle, to Theo Katzman, to Wolfpack, like so many of the great artists from the University of Michigan pay homage to what Tally Hall did and truly set an example on many, many levels, whether it be not to sign with a record label, to keep on killing new music, to getting the music that's trapped inside of you. And I think having Joe Hawley in here today and doing Hawaii Part 2 is amazing. And, I would love to ask you about what's next for Joe Hawley, the solo album. I want to get people pumped up because I truly believe you're one of the most humble, genius musicians I know. And I'm going to buy your album before it comes out on pre-sale. And I know thousands of other people that will too. And I know that music's trapped inside of you. So let's just let it out. And I think I would love to learn more about this solo project. Regardless if I told you I said we wouldn't talk about it.
When you mentioned dip, we're dipping into my brain. I was reminded of the 50s doo-wop sound, like dip, dip. But also Bora's band is called Kojum Dip. And I realized I don't have my phone in here with me, so I don't know what his number is. We can't call him. He has to call in to us.
It's okay. Yeah.
He'd be very pleased to do that, I'm sure. And it would be great to hear from him because he can offer a unique perspective of that album. But the new album, if I do make it, will be hip-hop, about halfways.
And you're going to be rapping on it?
I'll probably rap. I'll probably bust some rhymes.
And do you see you ever recording an album, just you on a piano writing songs about life? Do you think you could sit down next week and write a great album for Billy Joel if you wanted to?
Billy Joel might be relatively busy at the moment.
Yeah, he is.
But maybe he could call into the show if he's listening.
Do you think that maybe you're too good at too many things and it's hard to keep focused on one thing? I know years ago my New Year's resolution was to focus on one thing instead of focus on a million things. Do you think within your mind of all this musical talent and fantastic songwriting, I know I'm describing that, not you in your own words, do you feel that there's too many things going on and maybe you should just hone in on the solo project?
Meditation definitely helps.
Yeah.
Mental floss.
Yeah, I buy that.
Getting motivated to make an entirely new album after this one is a lot of work. Right?
It is a lot of work. I want to I want to hear you sing live. I want to go to your shows. I want to give you my money. I want to buy your albums. I know a lot of other people do too. And it makes me very happy to know that you still have your eye on the prize. I know you're in business school and everything else, but it makes me really happy. Like when I hear about all the Tally Hall kids, it makes me very happy to know that you're still trying to make music, because a lot of them aren't trying to do music for themselves. It makes me happy to know that you're doing music for yourself. And I really respect that. And I can't thank you enough for coming on my show and talking about it.
Mercy.
All right, this is Time Machine, Hawaii Part 2. It's going to close us out today. Please, if you don't have the Tally Hall albums, buy them all. If you don't have Hawaii Part 2, buy it 5 times. I can't say enough great things about having Joe Hawley in studio. This is another one that, Ross did some of the drum tracking on this, right? Time Machine?
Ross and I synthesized the electronic drums for this track.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, this is Hawaii Part 2. Closing us out on Tree Town Sound. Next week is the Ragbirds.